So we're in what I call our shade garden, and right now you can see our trees aren't in leaf yet, but in about 2 or 3 weeks they will be. The dogwood is starting to flower. The redbud right above your head is flowering already. And then this is a witch hazel small tree in front of us that we planted with, it was only a seedling. And the reason I want you up here to talk about these trees is because we planted all of these as like little seedling trees that we're going to be giving away at Earth Day on April 20th at Old Mill Park, which is down on 2201 Caroline Street. And I'm going to be giving away dogwoods, redbuds, elderberry bushes, 9-bark bushes, pawpaw, persimmon, river birch, oaks, spice bush, swamp white oaks, willow oaks, and black cherry. So you can go to our website, treefredericksburg.org, and get a description of each one of those trees and shrubs, and then you can come to the park. The event starts at 11, and it's a first-come, first-served basis. So there will be a line, but we're very efficient when we have the folks come. You've seen us do it, Ted. We can get 300, 400, 500 people through the line in an hour. And we sign you up. We give you a will call slip, and then you can go ahead and enjoy the Earth Day event, and then go pick up your trees just before you leave and take them home with you and plant them. All right, so this is a 1-gallon container of a dogwood. So this is going to be a little larger than what we're giving away at Earth Day. But honestly, it just doesn't matter, because no matter what size tree you plant, in 5 years, they're all going to be the same size. So if I plant a 6-foot tree, a 10-foot tree, or a 1-foot tree, in 10 years, 5 years, they're going to be about the same size, and that 10-foot tree will have hardly grown, because the roots have to catch up. Versus if you turn around and look at this dogwood right behind you, let me stand over here so you can see it. This was planted about 8 years ago, and it was this big.
Yeah.
But you can see now it's about 20, I would say about 22 feet tall now. And so it just doesn't matter what size, and it's healthier and easier to maintain if you do plant a small tree. The only thing you have to think about is you have to prune it up. And so you folks are going to have to, we're going to have to do some pruning classes, and I want to do some pruning classes for the general public over the next year. And so that by next fall, people are going to know what to do with their trees. So this is a dogwood, and again, I said it was a small one. So the main thing we want to do is we want to get the root ball. That's all we got. Everything else here was just mulch. But this tree is going to be fine, because if you look at, it's a small tree with a little bit of root, it's going to be just fine. And Carl just dug us a hole, and we're going to be putting, it's a dogwood, so we're not going to be putting this out in the middle of a field anyplace. We're going to probably have a little bit of shade around it, because they like to be in shade. So here's the flare of the tree, and we want that to be at soil level, because if it's at soil level, it's going to get enough oxygen, because the oxygen is in the top 12 to 18 inches of the soil. Everything else below that doesn't have oxygen, so it's not going to feed the tree. So you can see I got some worms in here. There was a grub there at the top inch of the soil, because that's where the oxygen is. And I'm just tucking it in. Just think about tucking a baby into a little baby plant in there. And so I'm not going to be putting too much pressure on this, but at the same time we don't want any air holes, because if you have any air holes, that means the roots are not covered and they will rot. So here we got a worm. He's happy at the top 12 inches, so that's good. And all we've done is push that soil in here a little bit. There we go. We don't want to cover it more than that, because if we cover it too much, then the oxygen is lost in the soil. And then we've got this mulch that we took off, and we're just going to mulch around the tree like that, being careful not to touch the trunk of the tree, because if we touch the trunk of the tree, there's little breathing holes in there called lenticels, and they exude a little bit of moisture, and if you put the mulch up against it like that, it holds the moisture in. That trunk stays wet and it rots. Okay? The trunk is meant to stay dry, not to stay wet. A lot of people have a sprinkler system in their front yard and the trunk of their trees is constantly wet. And if that happens, that trunk can rot and eventually fall over on the house or their car. So we want to be careful and not to keep that trunk really nice and dry. So keep the mulch back, keep the roots cool. Dogwoods hate to have hot roots. They like to be cool roots, and this holds the moisture in with the mulch. And when you hold the moisture in, those baby roots that you saw, now they can push out. And if they can push out, as they grow, the crown of the tree will grow. So we could see growth on this tree a couple, 3 feet this year. And with most people will just go ahead and put that into the ground with all that mulch in there, and that mulch would dry out.
Yeah.
And those baby roots would dry out, and then the tree would not do anything. So the whole thing is get it up against the native soil. You saw how quickly and easily that was done. And then we're going to water this about once a week. People should have a moisture meter. We're going to be selling moisture meters at Earth Day for $5, or they can get them from Amazon for $10.
Okay.
We don't care, but you should never water a plant without checking the moisture first. That's always. We check every tree that we plant in the city prior to watering them every week. And what we find is oftentimes they have too much water, and you can't tell the difference. You can't tell if it's overwatered or underwatered. So you've got to check it with the moisture meter. That's it. Now we've got a dogwood. The shade will cover it in the afternoon, so it's going to be happy, and we're going to have a beautiful little tree.
If I get my tree on Earth Day, how soon should I plant it?
You know, you can keep it as long as you want. The main thing is to keep it watered.
Okay.
So you're going to need your moisture meter, and you're going to water it because they're going to be in mulch, and you're going to water it once or twice a week. Keep it wet, keep it outside, and eventually when you get it planted, then you're going to have to keep it watered. It is better to get your tree in earlier than later, because the hotter it is, the more stressed the tree is, and you don't want that to be happening. You could actually take it, and what we do is, if we don't have time, we do what we call healing it in, and we'll just dig a trench, and we'll put all the trees there, lay them down halfway, cover the roots, and then in the fall we can plant them. So you can do that too. But you've got to make sure that they're going to be watered on a regular basis and not lose them. And I see them all over town. Everyone in this city, everyone should plant a tree in their yard. Why should they do that? Because they need healthy city. And to have a healthy city, we have to have canopy cover. And we're losing our canopy cover at an alarming rate. And so you can take one tree, put it in your backyard, and do a lot of good for our city.